we've had the Spanish Grand Prix, and well, that was all about the start, that race, wasn't it? A mega start from George Russell from 4th place down into 1st in the first corner. And Lando Norris just getting that wheel spin, letting Max Verstappen from 2nd place up past him into 2nd place, because Russell was just a mega start from him. Lewis Hamilton got a really poor start, but was lucky because Carlos Sainz, I think it was, just got blocked by the McLaren on his exit of turn 1, and that let Lewis Hamilton keep that 4th place position from him. And then, crucially, Max Verstappen got the pass on George Russell. Like everyone says, really crucial that he didn't get held up behind him at all or damage his tyres, because at the end of the stint that would have really helped Lando Norris. Norris and Russell had a really good battle, didn't they? Lap 35, Lewis Hamilton and Carlos Sainz had a really good battle, and then with George Russell and Hamilton, it was a great move from Hamilton round the outside. Norris with just 8 seconds behind Max Verstappen after the final stops, had it all to do on that final charge, and he just missed out, didn't he, by 2.2 seconds. And the race winner, Max Verstappen, he drove a great race for me, and I think for me it's going to be a bit of a surprise, but he was my driver of the day because he really had to work for it. He did the crucial start, he then made that pass on George Russell when it counted, and then as Norris was sort of closing, and he was, looking half a second, 7/10 of a second lap, it looked like he was just in that mode of reserving his tyres up just to give him that little push, and he crucially did that again like he did in Canada, didn't he, just to break that momentum of Lando Norris. About lap 55 to 66 is where Max Verstappen just pressed on it a bit, didn't he, and just halted Norris's charge, and that really crucially helped him in the end. Norris never really got into the DRS zone, and yeah, it was kicking himself in the end, Lando Norris. But it was a very strategic long race, wasn't it? It was battles, inter-team battles. Russell and Sainz went on the hards, and that cost them both against their teammates, because I think without that, George Russell probably would have held on to 3rd place. And the same with Carlos Sainz. He let Charles Leclerc through in the end so he can go and try and attack George Russell. He couldn't get past him in the end, but I think he was always going to beat Sainz on them hard tyres. They were the wrong tyre to go on. They didn't really test on them, so I was surprised both of them chose that. But yeah, let's go to my 3 good and the 3 bad of the race. And the first one of that, no surprise, Max Verstappen for me. Like I said, a great start, great pass on Norris off the line, and then crucially off George Russell, putting the laps when it counted, and that was enough to hold off Norris's charge and keep that win. I think this is one of them where he's kind of nicked that win, hasn't he? Like he did in Canada. It looked like it was George Russell, Lando Norris's to take, and he just broke the camel's back at the crucial points of that race, and that's what a true world champion does. It shows why he's so good. I mean, that's 2 wins now in 2 races that he probably shouldn't have had, and other drivers or lesser drivers would have let slip away, and that's why he's so highly regarded as Max Verstappen. A fantastic job. Second of the 3 good, it's Lewis Hamilton, back on the podium for the first time in absolutely ages, wasn't it? But he got a really poor start, and then that didn't really let that affect him. Got lucky that he was able to keep ahead of the Ferraris and just behind George Russell, settled down, made a really good pass on Carlos Sainz, and then it was a great move on George Russell, but he had the softer tyres, and a nice move round the outside. Took that podium place. He lost out to George at Canada, so he's got that back on him. But he was very happy with the car and how that drove over this weekend. A fantastic podium. Lewis, had a much better weekend, didn't he? Finally out-qualified George and then beats him in the race. A fantastic job for him, and Mercedes will be buoyed by that. Can they now keep this going into the next races? Austria should be brilliant. And the third of the 3 good, I'm going for a surprise. The Alpines, Gasly 9th and Ocon 10th. Mainly pure Gasly here. I think he did a fantastic job. Running in P7 for most of the race, looked pretty comfortable. Strategy was probably pitted a little bit too early on the end because he was too long on them tyres and was a bit of a sitting duck for the faster cars. Let's no doubt about that. McLaren of Piastri and Red Bull Perez that slipped past him towards the end, so he would be a little bit disappointed, couldn't hold on to one of them places. But a P9 for the Alpine team, who have been really struggling. A fantastic job for him. Ocon struggled a lot though. He was comfortably beaten by his teammate, but to bring home a double points finish for the pair of them is absolutely brilliant. On to the three bad. The first one of them, Sergio Perez. He was poor in the race. He was slower than Ocon for parts of the race, and he was on the faster, softer tyres. He went soft, and that they tried to mix it up to try and do something different. Didn't really work. He wasn't really fighting forward much at all, was he? He was kind of looking in the mirrors for most of the race, and considering the car that he's in, Max is winning and he's just so far down at points, about 0.8 of a second a lap slower than Max Verstappen. So really disappointing from him, and his poor momentum has sort of continued again, hasn't he? He needs to break this rut, and it shows another question mark of why Red Bull have given him these another extended contract, isn't it? He's not really showing anything at the moment of why they've done that so early. Second of the three bad, Kevin Magnussen. He had a horrible race. Comfortably beaten by his teammate. He was like 6 places behind Hülkenberg in the end. He's got a race seat that he needs to fight for, and he really needs to step up to try and, you know, convince someone to give him that seat. And especially his current employers, Haas, who they'll be disappointed they're losing Hülkenberg, because Hülkenberg looked like on a fight, potentially just missed out on some points in P10. But yeah, Magnussen so far back, he's got a lot of work to do. And the three bad is Yuki Tsunoda. He had a horrible start, despite a good start to the race, didn't he? But then from there on, he just looked horrible. He got a 5-second penalty. He did 3 stops to try and recover something with the softs at the end, but it just wasn't to be. He finished about 4 points or places back from his teammate. Daniel Ricciardo's had a hard time. So yeah, he'll be disappointed with that one. A race to kind of forget and move on from here. I'm going to shout out the races, Lando, Norris, and this is really confusing because I thought I'd put him in the 3 good, and then it was almost like, should I put him in the 3 bad, because it's difficult to judge because he had the car to win it and he lost it in the first corner. And it was more that he lost the place to George Russell rather than just losing out to Max Verstappen, I think, and that's the most disappointing from first to third for him. I think, you know, that really did cost him. The strategy calls was just to try and recover something to go long. I think when you look back, it was probably the right call. He did need that tyre overset to build that charge, and he did that really well, I think. Really only got stuck behind Russell again, didn't he, on them the charge through the field, but they had a great battle mid-race. And then, yeah, I think like just to miss out by 2.2 seconds. Like they had a slow first stop. That obviously didn't help him also. So just small things for Lando Norris that really cost him. But overall, it was absolutely fantastic to see him on a charge at the end. It was, yeah, such a shame that he couldn't just get closer in that DRS zone with about 4 or 5 laps to go to give himself a real chance for the pass. But yeah, it looks like we're heading to Austria next, which should be an absolute cracker, because it was there last year that we see McLaren really build momentum with a decent car and the upgrades that they bought there. So promising to be a fantastic race. Can't wait for the action to get going. Watch out for my driver ratings coming up shortly, and then we're straight into Austria, isn't it? Next weekend, thick and fast, the next few races. Brilliant, absolutely love it. The summer races back to back, brilliant. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment as always. See you next time.